I would like to ask Dr. Senthil Gopinath to join me on stage. I would like also to ask Ms. Hadjigeorgiou and Mr. Alexander Zinell. So I think there is already a lot of food for thought. It's really great to have all three of you. And I think it would help a lot if we try to turn our focus on some practical takeaways. There is no doubt that Greece has developed into a very powerful destination brand. And the question is how we can convert a brand that still remains largely seasonal into a more year-round investment platform. One that combines four-season demand, business events, public assets, private capital, connectivity, and credible partnerships. I'm extremely honored that you are all here. Senthil, as CEO of ICCA, you bring a great perspective on business meetings and business events, so we would really like to hear on that. Iro, as the CEO of HPPC, your operational view on managing and developing landmark public assets would be extremely valuable. And Alexander, as CEO of Fraport, you bring the connectivity aspect that we just heard, how critical it is, and also, of course, in a more tangible way, the regional infrastructure lens. Unfortunately, Mr. Theodosiou urgently will not be able to join us, so the view that we would gain from H.I.G, a private equity fund in the domain, will be covered, hopefully, in the rest of the discussion. So I would like to start with the first thematic, Greece. You have heard the acronym MICE a lot. Just to remind, it's about meetings, incentives, conferences, and exhibitions. For everybody to be on board. So how can Greece become a MICE and four-season destination? And maybe we can start together. Senthil, I think it is very clear that there is a strategic opportunity to use business events and MICE to extend the season. In a recent study that BCG, the Boston Consulting Group, did in the MICE domain, we found that the global market nears 1 trillion. And it is growing at nearly double-digit every year. So the opportunity, if we look at the global MICE market, is vast. What I would like to ask you is what would it take for Greece to become a serious international MICE and four-season destination? And what is your practical ask, given your global experience from the public sector, the venues, the local destinations, and the private partners? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here. I think, like you rightly said, the recent study, we just released the study last couple of weeks back. It's gone up to 1.3 trillion MICE segment. Sincere appreciation for having me here. I think a sovereign wealth fund coming together, institution like Growthfund, rightly said by the chairman, how it can institutionalize, how the consolidation can take it forward. So my sincere thanks to chairman, board of directors, and the chief executive of Growthfund. Globally, many parts of the ICCA, we call it ICCA, works around 108 countries around the world. This is something, a concept we keep trying to nurture, and we keep telling the policymakers around the world, please consolidate, get together, collaborate. So whatever said and done, ladies and gentlemen, you should be happy there is a great institution like Growthfund easier and leading the way forward. So that is very unique to Greece, particularly from a MICE meetings and incentives conference exhibition segment. We call it the business event segment. We constantly say that consolidation, private sector, public sector partnership, and most importantly, looking at the sectoral growth. The gentleman who spoke at the panel identified many sectors, what Greece's current potential and future potential. Now, in business events, that's what constantly, it's vital anyone to understand the fundamental sectors of a country and the growth sectors of the country. That can bring larger volume of association congress. Today in the world, we have almost 13,000 association congress in the world. As we speak, in the last 18 months, artificial intelligence have created about 864 new conferences. Now, if you're looking at artificial intelligence as a segment for Greece, that can bring huge amount of thought leadership, huge amount of expertise into a country, form of conferences. Now, looking at Greece as a country, the brand focus, culture, diversity, the ethnicity involved here, the food and the gastronomy you talk about, Greece has got it all. The brand profile is one of the key most difficult factor in the meetings industry to develop. Like Chairman rightly mentioned, Dubai, how they built it over a period. They need to invest huge amount of investment to be made, build a vision. But whereas Greece as a country, phenomenally and fantastically placed when it comes to brand capability. What needs to be done is to look at what are those key sectors, what are the association conference we can invite, who are the corporates who are investing. Today we are talking about investment, which is more very close to business events, because infrastructure development brings larger meetings into a country, larger, more than numbers, it's the mid-sized meetings I'm talking about. Anything relevant from a 500 to 1200 in terms of size is the most popular meeting, and 87% of world meetings are in that category. Greece got it all. I was even last week in Thessaloniki, we had the ICCA chapter meeting in Thessaloniki. Coming after about 8 years into Thessaloniki, I could see the vision, the infrastructure development is moving forward extensively. So Greece needs to get that message across to the rest of the world to see. The other most important factor is the human capital, the expertise in business event sector. Every customer who comes here looks for that, to any country for that matter. Again, I see the service standards at a high end when it comes to Greece. So all these factors needs to be spoken about. Academia, if you take in to develop a MICE industry, one of the key segment is academia. And universities are at the forefront in Greece. So again, that's another key sector. The public sector, yes, very vital to have consolidate the work with private sector, formation of bureaus, bringing the bureaus to the funding level where you can be the one-stop shop for the customer around the world who wants to come and organize a meeting. So it's very vital to have the convention bureaus, the meeting planners, the entire ecosystem together, working together. And also they're being identified internationally as the point of contact, because marketing a destination is very important, but the meeting industry customer always looks for who can I contact, where I can drive the implementation process. So in a nutshell, yeah, I think Greece is at the forefront from a brand visibility. And I keep talking to, when I addressing Europe and many other parts of the world, one of the destinations that keeps coming, it's surprisingly, is Greece. It's again because of the nature, the culture, the adventure this destination has to offer is what many meeting planners are looking for. Because 2 decades before, if you take meetings are all about sitting across like what we do today at this Growthfund Summit, deliberating about subjects, deliberating about many topics and coming out with outcome. But now it has moved from there to experiential learning. So anybody who's going to a destination need to experience better than outside the meeting room. So Greece has got it all to offer. So these are some of the thoughts.
That's great to hear. So on the positive side, I keep brand, vision as strong pluses that are already there. And on what we can do even better. You mentioned human capital. I think the standard is improving, but I think maybe numbers can further grow in terms of talent that is available. Academia is a very insightful point you're bringing, but the big aspect that was also mentioned before is consolidation, having large players. So, and of course, nurturing the overall ecosystem. You also mentioned about infrastructure, so I would like to also tap into Iro on this one and ask from HPPC's portfolio, which asset categories could realistically support MICE incentives or year-round programming if the right access, infrastructure, and partners are in place, Iro?
Thank you, Vasily. I would reverse it because what I want to stand at is the fact that we need to create an ecosystem. So it's not so much about the asset class, but it's really creating the ecosystem. It's creating the partnerships and the infrastructure to facilitate this type of year-long activity, and to be more specific on the MICE side of the industry. What we have done, I can talk about 2 examples where we did precisely that. The former Olympic Taekwondo building, we partnered up with the region of Attica. we needed to fix the infrastructure, find the funding for the operators to come and create a more lucrative, not scenario, a lucrative story for the investor and the operators to come and actually turn it into a MICE destination. Equally, in Thessaloniki, in the former governor's mansion, we're turning this into a small convention center, but we're partnering with the Hellenic Parliament. So it's an exercise of placemaking, an exercise of bringing in the entire ecosystem for those assets to become something much more valuable that can create value and year-long operation.
Thank you, Iro, and it's inspiring to hear that the old Δικητήριο that used to sit abandoned and deserted is now coming to good use. I think that's the one you're referring to in Thessaloniki. If I can just keep you, as we are moving to the next thematic around landmark public assets and regional development, if we want to move from demand to destination creation, just like the example you mentioned on the ecosystem of Attica, now Thessaloniki coming together, you sit on a portfolio of landmark assets that are not just real estate. These assets can shape how regions are positioned, cities, with the example you just mentioned, how new tourism products are developed and how investment reaches locations beyond the better known and most established tourism destinations in Greece. How does HPPC promote and develop destinations through its assets? And can you share some more concrete examples that span across the country?
Okay, thank you for the opportunity, because it's an opportunity for me to talk about the strategy, the different approach that we have, and especially when we talk about those landmark assets that have a very strong identity. They do mean a lot to the people around them, and they carry a strong history. So what we do is we have changed our philosophy. It's not only about the monetization of the property, bring it to the market, but really we have a very specific strategy on how we see each of those assets. So the first thing is, what is the asset? What is its DNA? What is the unique, its USP, what we can build upon? And to make it more understandable and to give an example, we do have thermal springs. We have Caiaphas thermal spring, and we have the Methana thermal spring. I was just asked a question about that right before I came up on the panel. They're both thermal springs, but their DNA is fundamentally different. Caiaphas sits within a natural landscape. Its unique selling point is not about the thermal tourism, but it's more about the ecology, about leisure, about activities, which has an additional value add, which is the thermal spa. Methana, on the other hand, is precisely that. It appeals more to the masses. So we see what the DNA is. We open up the discussion to potential operators and investors. We need to hear what they need, so we prepare the infrastructure, and then we move to the infrastructure. Maturization, be it legal, be it the technical maturization, needs to take into account what the end product will be, how the operator will need to operate, what are those the key elements that it will require. And then the fourth is that we engage all stakeholders. And this is the last point that I want to make. This is our privilege as HPPC, as the Growth Fund, this ecosystem. We can bring into the discussion early enough all the stakeholders and create those conditions that will benefit the asset, that will make it a destination that will provide experience, a different type of experience, a different type of operation. It's not just about the asset. It's about building a whole ecosystem around it, benefiting the community, and of course, the transactional part that we need to get across.
Thank you, Iro. Ecosystem, partnerships, etc. Maybe just tapping into your global expertise, Senthil, on this. In terms of developing this global destination, what makes a partnership or MOU, from your perspective, meaningful for business events and investment, not just announcements that we hear many that are happening, but to put something into real action?
Absolutely, yeah. I think from a business events perspective, again, it has moved on over decades. It's not about convention centers. It's not about having hotel meeting rooms. It has moved from a partnership aspect to creating event districts around the world. So the investment, the infrastructure, it's a combination of having the convention facilities or the meeting facilities plus having every other recreational activity part of it. Now, that's where the partnership comes in very strongly, because every investor from around the world, when they look for it, they look for the activation. So activation is bought through business events tourism more and more, because then the investment comes part of the business event. Today, I think, again, another huge achievement in the business event segment is the MOU signing between Growthfund and ICCA. Now, again, what's the purpose there? I have two of the colleagues who are here on the panel who are really integral part of Growthfund and the infrastructure they built. And it's rightly said by my colleague that it's not about infrastructure. It's about having that ecosystem. So when you bring all players of the ecosystem together, the destination can easily attract the meetings and events, because the meeting planner who's coming into the country, it's not only looking at coming and organize the meeting and leaving the country. No, they want to stay on a longer term through looking at new investment opportunities. And most important, they also want to study what are the segments, again, the sectors which I spoke earlier about, is potential here in this country. So meetings always are the economic engines which drive the future legacies, future investment. If I may give you a quick example, when Abu Dhabi never had any of the international clinics or the hospitals in the country, healthcare was mentioned earlier. When they hosted the World Diabetes Congress in Abu Dhabi, the Cleveland Clinic was set up in Abu Dhabi. Now, that's purely an example how a meeting can bring public-private sector partnership and also create a strong legacy in a destination. So meetings brings enormous opportunity in terms of investment, public-private sector partnership.
Thank you, Senthil. I want to move to something that is a key prerequisite, and we wouldn't talk about MICE, tourism, if connectivity was not there. And I remember in times, especially when we were discussing beyond Athens, that was a big issue. But Alexander, I feel that in the last years, this has been largely addressed. So this missing link between a destination's potential and the actual performance is somehow in some parts of the country coming together. So before we start discussing about the opportunity going forward, I wanted to ask if we can just take stock on how air connectivity and airport infrastructure, where you and Fraport have played such a critical role, have supported Greece's four-season growth and the regional development so far.
Thank you. Well, it's a great opportunity to clarify a couple of points here. First of all, we are infrastructure. We are a classic brick and mortar business. And I was somehow disappointed by Mark's list of 18 future sectors, and none of it said infrastructure. Now, my disappointment is moderated because of the importance of infrastructure. Infrastructure is not creating connectivity or desire for a destination. It's an enabler. What did we do in the past 10 years? We're almost 10 years now in Greece. We invested 1.7 billion euros. That includes concession fees and, of course, capex into the airports. We continue to invest 50 million in the upkeep every year, plus another 50 million or so in capacity expansion, moderate capacity expansion. We have totally transformed the airport landscape from what it used to be. Now, what has this investment delivered over the last years? We moved from 25 million passengers per year to this year roughly 38 million passengers. So that's 48% growth. We have handled 260 million passengers since the beginning. So while 37 may not sound a lot, it is a lot over time, and that, of course, continues. So by the end of the concession, we'll probably have handled more than 1 billion passengers in regional airports. These are actually, most of them are islands, small islands. So these numbers are huge. What else did we deliver? We delivered jobs. Nowadays, we have around 14,000 people that work at our airports. How do we know? Because we issue ID cards, and that's how we count the number of people that work directly somehow at the airports, and of course all the other jobs that have been created and sustained because people travel to the destinations in increasing numbers. So this is the basics. Now, why are people traveling? This is an important question. I think it has been answered by a number of speakers before me, because there is something that people want to do. Now, we hear a lot about AI, we hear a lot about social media, we hear a lot about virtual experiences. Now, what we see increasingly is that even the young generation, that I think Giovanni mentioned earlier on, including my own son, they want to have experiences. So they are looking for places to go where they have an experience, and this is actually the key. Greece provides experiences that you cannot have anywhere else. So we are facilitating the connectivity, we are creating the infrastructure to allow planes to come to Greece, but no traveler comes for an airport. No traveler would ever come to see one of our airports. They come to see the beaches, the villages, the mountains, the beach, the sea. The things they find in Thessaloniki, you mentioned Thessaloniki. I think Thessaloniki is an incredible city with an enormous potential going forward just because of the experiences it provides, whether it's in terms of food, whether it's in terms of culture, whether it's in terms of history. Even the new metro system is an amazing place to visit. I've done it, and I was impressed. So we are an enabler, but the desire to travel is created by the destination itself. And this is where I think Greece has an incredible advantage over many other destinations in Europe. Excellent. And across the globe, by the way.
Thank you, Alexander. And what I find extremely interesting is that beyond the connectivity and the critical infrastructure that we started discussing in the beginning, you're discussing about significant multiplier impact in the real economy in terms of jobs and beyond, let alone, of course, the impact from the investment on the GDP. If you go now to forward-looking, I mean, you mentioned about the uniqueness of Greece from many different aspects as well. How do you see the next phase of connectivity? Where should it focus? How can we unlock more balanced growth across destinations, maybe beyond just the large cities, Athens, Thessaloniki? I know you're already in many other parts in the rest of the country, but can you talk about your plans across the country?
Well, our plans basically are from this point on to upkeep and to match the growth of the destinations with adequate capacity. Now, and this is very critical to understand because I mentioned we are infrastructure, but we are not the only piece of infrastructure at our destinations. There are roads, water management, wastewater, waste management, public health care. So there's a lot of infrastructure that is needed to support the growth. And what we see now at some of our destinations, not all of them, but some of our destinations are reaching limits of infrastructure. The road system is not enough to facilitate the travel of people in the destination. We see lack of water. Of course, you can invest into desalination, but that is very expensive. The same is true for literally all sectors and all aspects of infrastructure. So we need to find a good balance between the public sector infrastructure and the private investment into whether it's hotels, whether it's restaurants, whether it's bars, whether it's clubs, it doesn't matter. So there needs to be a better balance in most of our destinations between public sector investment and our own. If that is achieved, we see an enormous growth potential, and we don't really see limits of growth. Of course, the question is how fast this will grow. Because there's a lot of untapped markets to the southeast of Greece, and of course to the north and northeast of Greece, especially the cold countries. A large one which is currently locked out of travel to Europe. But we see enormous growth going forward. We keep developing concepts, we keep increasing capacity, and I'm very happy to be here today because we are signing the concession agreement for Kalamata Airport, which will be airport number 15 in our portfolio. We have great plans for Kalamata, which serves not only Kalamata and the Messenia, but also the wider Peloponnese region. So it's a great opportunity, a lot of investment that will flow into this asset. And again, we foresee job creation, we foresee a strong growth of tourism in the entire Kalamata Peloponnese region. And I'm happy to hear that we are working very closely with the local representatives of the region, and they are not seeing us as Kalamata Airport, but they're seeing us as an airport and an operator serving the wider Messenias and, of course, Peloponnese region.
Excellent. So the great example that we heard of Costa Navarino now will be even better connected, and this is great news to close the panel. As we are up for time, what I'm taking away from this panel is one key word, which is the ecosystem that need to come together. We heard many examples from Iran how regions and the leadership from those regions, like the example of Thessaloniki that I liked a lot, need to come together with the public asset and the relevant ecosystem. I liked a lot, Senthil, your point on how it is important to also ensure that other parts like talent, academia, etc., need to help in order to ensure that there will be the labor, but also the continuous flow of talent that will be needed in order to continue growing. But there is also one other point that I want to draw from you, Alexander, which is the critical infrastructure. Even the basics need to be there, just because we are entering a new level of growth, which is here to stay. So we need to make sure that we tackle this, because sustainability in the true meaning of the word will be important in order to ensure that it is balanced growth. Thank you very much for the great discussion. And I'm now handing back to Maria.